Good morning. It's September 26th. This is to my liberal friends. Every day there seems to be a new poll in the 2024 elections, and you have to wonder which one to believe. The Washington Post and ABC conducted a recent poll, and the data from that was a bit surprising. According to their numbers, Donald Trump would defeat Joe Biden by a 52 to 42% margin. And that's well within the margin of error. Well, the Washington Post, being the liberal newspaper they are, had to downgrade their own poll. Early in the story, they write, quote, "The post-ABC poll showed Biden trailing Trump by 10 percentage points at this early stage in the election cycle, although the sizable margin of Trump's lead in this survey is significantly at odds with other polls that show the general election contest in a virtual heat. The difference between this poll and others, as well as the unusual makeup of Trump's and Biden's coalitions in this survey, suggests it's probably an outlier," end quote. In other words, don't believe our poll. Now, I'm confident that if the numbers were reversed, you would hear something very different from the Post writers. They would be telling us how Biden is gaining in popularity and would easily defeat Trump. But how much of that is an outlier? In a Fox News poll, they had Trump leading 48-46. The CNN poll had Trump leading 47-46, and the Wall Street Journal had them in a dead heat at 46% each. Throughout the article describing the poll, the Post writers interjected their comments that they do not really believe the poll because it did not comport with what they think the poll should be saying. And we've seen this trend in the media repeatedly over the past 20 years, where they disavow any public support for an idea or candidate they don't support. They seem to have this idea the public should be doing what they're telling them to do and not what they might think for themselves. Well, guess what? The people are waking up and can think for themselves. The numbers in the poll that the Post conducted should be the most alarming to the Biden team are the breakdown. And those numbers are pretty consistent across all the polls being conducted. It shows that Biden had a job approval of only 37%. Now, two other polls had him below the 40% mark, and two others had him at 41 and 42% approval. That means his disapproval number is in the high 50s and over 60% in some of the polls. Overall, roughly 3 in 4 Americans say the economy is not good or poor, and despite the unemployment rate staying below 4% for more than a year, 57% rate it negatively. There are even worse ratings of gas or energy prices, no surprise. 87% say not so good or poor. And we have recently seen gas pricing rising again, and food prices, they come in at 91% negative rating. You've been to the grocery store, so have I. Those prices are up and they're not coming down. Another key question was how the American people view themselves. Ask if they're better off financially than when Biden took office. Not as well off or about the same, 44% say not well off, compared with 15% who say they're better off and 39% who say they're about the same. And that's the number that normally drives voters on who to vote for, and it's not a good number for the current administration. When it comes to the southern border and the immigration problem, Biden sinks below 25% in his handling of the issue, but he's also hamstrung to do anything about it without alienating his liberal bloc of voters who want an open border. In a surprise to me, there was a block of voters that are moving in Trump's favor. Voters under the age of 35, typically a strong Democratic vote, supported Trump over Biden by a margin of 20 points. Now, hard to call that an outlier. In 2020, Biden won voters under the age of 35 by double digits. And I've already mentioned that the Washington Post is downplaying their own numbers, but other Democrats are in full panic mode as they try to tell us the numbers are false. Democrat analyst Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia, this is the guy who confidently predicted Hillary Clinton would win 350 votes in 2016, and she only got 227. He asked the Post, quote, "How could you even publish a poll so absurd in its face? Will this be a lingering embarrassment for you?" End quote. Sorry, Larry, but the numbers don't lie, even though you think they do. But the facts are staring us right in the face. Joe Biden, who believes that he can easily defeat Donald Trump, is not getting the polling data that supports that belief. NBC released a poll last weekend as well, and they had Trump and Biden tied at 46%. Now, I'm not sure which poll, if either, is really correct, but neither bear good news for Joe Biden. And more telling was the other data from the NBC poll. In addition to asking about a Biden versus Trump scenario, it was asked about Biden versus some other Republican candidates. And when the pollsters asked voters about a contest between Biden and Republican Nikki Haley, Haley came out ahead 5 points, 46 to 41. And some other ones, Biden versus DeSantis, Biden edged the Florida governor 46-45. But the fact that Nikki Haley was up 5 points shows she's gained some traction. Now, both polls show Biden in bad political shape, and there's really no dispute about that. But these new polls from the Washington Post, ABC, and NBC News take Biden's problem to a new level of concern among Democrats. For the moment at least, and remember, as I said, this poll is just a snapshot of just this moment in time, the president is losing ground not just to Trump, but at least to one other Republican challenger as well. And finally, as I said, these polls are just a snapshot today, and we're still a year away, but the bottom line is Joe Biden's not moving the needle, and he's even losing ground in the key voting blocks that he needs to win. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening. If you enjoy the podcast, recommend it to your friends. And if you have a comment, feel free to leave it.